Hello and welcome to SaltWire today for Thursday, October 27th. I'm your host, Kate Walker. We're hearing again from Stacey Gomez, the tenant, in an ongoing battle with her landlord to avoid rent eviction. She's been temporarily displaced from her unit after HRM officials issued an order to vacate unsafe property due to high levels of mold found in an air quality test. But now she's been served by her landlord with a Form F notice to quit.
There are processes that need to be followed when a landlord is seeking to evict a tenant, and a notice that's supposed to be given, and then permission to actually be able to do this from provincial authorities, and this has not happened.
The landlord claims that this terminates Gomez's tenancy effective immediately. Gomez says the notice also says he will remove the rest of her personal belongings if she does not do so by tomorrow, what she says is against her tenancy rights.
You cannot have a landlord unilaterally evicting tenants. That would create an incredibly chaotic situation that the legislature has purposely avoided by putting this legislation into effect. We're of the position that the landlord's not properly following this legislation and is in breach of the statutory conditions to keep the unit fit for human habitation.
According to the Nova Scotia government's website, in regard to a Form F, by law, you must give 5 days before the date you want the tenant to move out when the tenant poses a risk to the safety or security of the landlord or other tenants in the same building. The form can also be served 7 days before the date you want the tenant to move out for any reason other than failure to pay rent and breach of statutory conditions. The Migma Native Friendship Centre in Halifax is receiving major federal funding to help improve the space.
It is the most profound honor of my time as the MP for Halifax to announce that the federal government of Canada is making an additional contribution toward the brand new expanded Migma Native Friendship Centre in downtown Halifax, Chubukta, in the amount of $28.8 million.
The Migma Native Friendship Centre has been around since 1972, providing essential programs and services to Indigenous peoples and other marginalized groups. The funding will go towards the construction of a new building and allow the centre to expand its services. Currently, there's a challenge trying to meet the needs of a growing 7,000 plus clientele downtown. The centre has had to relocate 3 times since its opening.
You're going to see our healthcare movement there. All of our current programming, housing, mental health supports, all of those programs, youth programming. We are looking at transitioning our family resource center into that space as well. Some of our harm reduction programs will also go there. Lots of planning to happen around that to ensure we're not, in conflict with anything. But we're looking to, it's hopefully a 75 to 70,000 square foot building that will actually meet the needs.
This funding comes from the Indigenous Community Infrastructure Fund and builds on a $4 million investment announced earlier this year through the Urban Programming for Indigenous Peoples funding stream. One Australian living in Halifax has recently published a book based on a 7-year social media project talking to strangers and learning about their life. Jack Scrine has mirrored a similar project from New York City called Humans of New York. He's spent years stopping Haligonian strangers to take their photo and talk everything from heartbreaks to personal joys in life.
So I've interviewed more than 500 people around Halifax, Dartmouth and HRM in general, photographing, talking to, and generally kind of getting a sense of who they are.
He's now turned their stories into a book, more permanent than any social media post.
When I put my shoes on and walk out the door, kind of looking around, looking for people and looking for a friendly face that might want to speak to me. And oftentimes you don't feel like it. It's like working out, right? Like sometimes before you go and do it, you're not feeling it at all. And when you've completed it, you've just got this high from it, this feeling of I'm so glad I spoke to that person or ran into that person or took that photograph, like day made.
The book, titled Halifolks, The Faces and Stories of Halifax, will be officially launched in December, but the book is already in many bookstores in the province and online. Well, there's always one house on Halloween that stops everyone on the street with its decor. Stephen McLeod and his partner have transformed their Spryfield property into a haunted house filled with spiders, ghosts, cobwebs, you name it.
My partner and I, we've been together for over 20 years. And when we first got together, I always told him, I was like, I love Halloween. We lived in apartments. And I said, if we ever own a house together, be prepared, because we are going to be the Halloween house.
It's a holiday close to his heart, and dressing up is normal for McLeod, better known as Devastation drag queen in the city. The Halloween decorations have become tradition every year for the pair. The crowds have grown every year, and the show goes on despite the rain. McLeod says they've prepped this year for 1,000 kids, and it's a full-day event.
Halloween morning, we're up at 5 a.m. bright and early. We have Eggs Benedict, and we play This Is Halloween. And we start, and we're in for makeup at around 12. We get our first kids at 5. By 6, you're going strong. By 7, you can't get in the driveway. And by 8, the streets are rolled up. Like, it's gone. It happens so fast.
Much of the decorations are homemade, but they are backed up by local sponsors who help them with treats, bouncy castles, and a team of people to help carve donated pumpkins. Time now for prices at the pumps with fuel price insider Dan McTagg. Dan shares his thoughts on where fuel prices may be headed at midnight in Nova Scotia, as well as something to watch as the weather gets colder.
Well, I think we're looking at about a 2, maybe even a 2.5 cent a liter increase. And by all accounts, it's really demonstrating what we've seen in the markets since Monday. So gasoline up about 2.5 cents a liter. Diesel, probably not much of a change yet. And heating oil is pretty much the same. What we have to be mindful of, though, is once we've caught a break here over the past week or so with warmer weather, but that's not going to last. Winter is coming, and with it will come higher demand, especially for heating oil, stove oil, furnace oil, jet fuel, diesel, and the like. We could be looking at a scenario that develops over the next several weeks where we may be looking at rationing heating oil.
And Dan will be back next week on Prices at the Pumps. Time now for the Atlantic Sports Wire, presented by Scott Squires.
7, Amy DeVernchuk with assist coming from.
The St. Mary's Huskies Women's Hockey Club are 3-3 early stages of the AUS hockey season. Their coach, Chris Lorette, is with us. Coach, how you feeling about the first 6 games from your team so far this year?
Oh, I think overall our group's coming together. Record's probably not where we would want it to be, but we've played some good teams, and I've been on, from an analytical standpoint, I've been on the right side of most games, if not all. So I think we like what we're starting to see as far as what we're piecing together. We still got a ways to go, lots to learn, but dealing with adversity early on is hopefully going to serve us well later. I always say you win or you learn, because if you're not learning, you're not going to get better. I think for the most part, our performances against UNB were actually quite okay. It's just a matter of piecing 60 full minutes together, which I'm not sure it's ever been done in the history of the game, but I'd much rather be closer to 55 than 40. And then at the same time is understanding that we've got to compete and we've got to be ready to play come puck drop, regardless of what day of the week it is, regardless of what jerseys are on the other side. And that's all part of growing up. We've got a good leadership group that's instilling some good values, and I'm fully confident we'll get through these little hiccups, and it'll only make us stronger in the long run.
The Huskies' next game is Friday, October 28th, 7 p.m. puck drop at UPEI. In Halifax, I'm Scott Squires for the Atlantic Sports Wire.
Is in the back of the net as LeBlanc gets the rebound.
Thank you, Scott. On to weather now to see what's coming up in the forecast. We're going to check in now with our weather specialist, Alistair Alders.
Thanks, Kate. Well, after 20, up to 40, in some cases 50 millimeters of rain last night, we were drying out today here in the Halifax area, and it certainly was another mild day. Many people here at Point Pleasant Park didn't have jackets on. I probably really didn't need one either, but I can tell you that tomorrow you're definitely going to need a jacket. Tonight we will have partly cloudy skies, and the temperature this evening near 15 degrees with a northwest wind of 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. We'll see winds shift over to the north by Friday morning, 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Lots of sunshine, but a brisk start near 5 degrees and only 11 degrees for the high on our Friday afternoon with mainly sunny conditions. So we're going to be 8 to 10 degrees cooler tomorrow compared to today. Temperatures will moderate as we go through the weekend. We will bump up a bit, certainly not to what we had earlier this week, but temperatures return into the more low to mid-teens, and high pressure will be dominating, so there's lots of sunshine to be found in the upcoming weekend forecast. Kate.
Thank you, Alistair. That's all for now. For more extended video and full online articles, stay tuned to saltwire.com. And you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at SaltWire Today. I'm your host, Kate Walker. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.